Movie starts in a zoo in Pondicherry, India. A boy by the name of Pissimolita is being taught how to swim by his uncle Mamaji. Pissimolita was named after a French swimming pool with clean water that even one could make morning tea with it. The father wanted him to have a pure spirit like the pool, but instead the name became a nightmare for him. He was constantly bullied due to the close resemblance between pissing and pissing. At the age of 11, he had had enough of this, and upon the reopening of school after the holidays, he was prepared for the inevitable class after class. He would walk to the front and explain the mathematical formula pi. He did this for every lesson, and at the end of the day, Pissin went all in. He wrote the whole version of the pi from the top of his head as the whole school watched. No one could believe it, as this could only be done by a genius. The whole school cheered for him, and from then on, his nickname changed from Pissing to Pi. Naturally curious, the boy wants to understand everything, including his father's zoo animals. Defying the rules, he sneaked into the tiger's enclosure to get a close-up look at the beast. He takes a piece of meat and opens the door, allowing a magnificent cat to walk in. He stretches his hand forward, looking deep into the big cat's eyes as it slowly walks towards him. When the tiger gets close enough, his father runs inside and pulls him, and the tiger also takes off running. His father is filled with fury, believing that the boy was on the verge of losing his arm. Pi is very adamant and even swears it was not going to harm him, claiming he could see its pure soul deep down in its eyes. But his father warns him that what he saw was just his own reflection and nothing else, as the tiger only saw him as food, not a friend. So to instill a lesson in the boy, the father orders a goat to be tied where the boy was standing. Indeed, when the tiger returned, it folded the goat in half and dragged it inside like it was nothing. Years passed and Pi became bigger. Unfortunately, the financial situation at the zoo was not good. His father struggled to keep it alive but finally reached its breaking point, so he wanted to close the zoo down and sell the animals in Canada, where they would also relocate. Pi did not like this idea, as he had managed to get his first girlfriend, and since there was nothing he could do, the family, together with their animals, boarded a ship and set sail for their new lives. All this is being narrated by a now 60-year-old Pi to a Canadian writer. Something so tragic happened that it changed the course of Pi's and his entire family's lives. It was 4 days out of Manila, Philippines, above the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean. The winds were strong and the waves were even bigger. But their ship pushed on as Pi and his family were peacefully sleeping in their quarters. He wakes up and taps his brother on the shoulder as he wants to go and see the angry ocean outside. His brother refused, but a curious Pi marched on alone. The strong winds nearly sucked him out when he opened the door. He walked outside where it was raining heavily and climbed higher for a better view. The storm rocked the ship side to side and the ocean seemed to inflate and deflate. Suddenly the alarm started going off, and when Pi looked at the deck, he unbelievably watched as a massive wave carried 2 men away, disappearing into the dark waters. The boy realizes the gravity of the situation and rushes inside to find the compartments completely submerged in water. He tries to swim to help his family, but the water pressure was too much, so he swam back outside to try and get some help. Caged animals and birds escaped and ran around on the top deck. Pi walked to men who were trying to lower a lifeboat into the water for help, but instead he was grabbed and thrown into the lifeboat. A panicked zebra jumps in the boat, breaking the ropes, and the boat falls into the ocean. The waves violently sway the boat as the boy clings to it, and when it finally stops, Pi tries to wave, calling for help while blowing a whistle, but the ship disappears in front of his eyes. He notices something struggling to stay afloat in the water and throws a floater towards it, thinking it is a human. But when he pulls it closer, it is a tiger. Pi attempts to push it away, but a small wave knocks it, causing it to hold fast to the boat. He hurriedly jumps into the ocean where several sharks are swimming, and when he looks close, he witnesses a ship sinking slowly to the bottom with his entire family still on board. Pi quickly swims back up to the surface and climbs back on board. He holds onto the bowsprit, looking out and crying for his family. The next day Pi was still holding onto the bowsprit and later started pouring out the ocean water that had entered the boat. But suddenly, a hyena emerges under the boat cover and starts attacking him, so he quickly runs back to his safe spot and holds onto it. From a distance, an orangutan appeared floating on some bananas, and when it got close enough, Pi helped it by pulling the poor animal on board. The orangutan looks very scared and hopeless, as it has also lost its family. Pi stands up and starts calling in case a human being has survived and is floating in the water. The noise wakes up the hyena, which is now very hungry. When night came, the hyena couldn't take it any longer. It turned its attention to the zebras, killing and eating it. Hours passed, and Pi became too tired to continue holding onto the bowsprit. He makes a makeshift raft by tying together floaters and oars. But before he could drop it in the water, the hyena appeared again, this time turning its attention towards the orangutan. It bit the poor animal's neck and killed it. This makes Pi very angry, as he starts shouting, ready to fight and kill it. But in that commotion the tiger jumps from beneath the boat cover, lands on the hyena and kills it. Pi quickly drops the raft in the water and jumps after it to escape from this beast. Hours pass and Pi gets extremely hungry, so he opens the boat cover and finds canned food in the storage compartments and he quickly starts to devour it. He also finds a rat that makes the noise as it walks around. This alarms the tiger, and it gets out from under the cover and tries to jump on the Pi, but its nails get constantly stuck making it unable to walk on the cover to get to the frightened boy. Pi quickly grabs the panicked rat and throws it straight into the tiger's mouth. He uses this chance to escape back into the water, but the tiger wants more. It charges towards him, but luckily for him, it is afraid of falling into the ocean, causing it to retreat. The boy's fear is so intense that it even throws out. Days turned into nights, and nights turned into days, but Pi was still floating in the middle of nowhere. So far the small amount of water between them has managed to keep the tiger from turning him into a meal. The sun's reflection on the ocean's surface is so breathtaking, but Pi cannot enjoy it. He can only sit on the small raft because whenever he tries to touch the boat, the tiger is growling and threatening to kill him. He tries writing rescue notes and throwing them in random directions, but they only land a few meters away from him. When it rained, he used a bucket of water to trap fresh water for drinking. He also began counting and recording the days to keep his mind occupied, and so far, he's 11 days in. The tiger had not eaten anything, and Pi knows that the little amount of water between them could not stop this powerful beast from reaching him. So he has to find a way to fish and feed the big cat, and before long, his nightmare becomes a reality as the tiger jumps into the water swimming towards him. Pi immediately pulled the rope and jumped into the boat. With only seconds to spare, he pulls the raft onto the boat, leaving the tiger stranded and unable to climb back up. Pi picked up an axe, and this was his chance to finish the deadly predator once and for all, but when he tries to hit it on the head, he cannot. It is simply not in his nature to kill. Similar to his childhood, he recognized something in the tiger's eyes, felt compassion for it and felt compelled to save it. So Pi spends the next several hours building a ladder for the tiger, and when night arrives, he drops the ladder into the ocean and the tired tiger climbs back on board. The next day the tiger and Pi are extremely hungry, so he improvises to catch some fish. Pi pulls it out of the water while it is still struggling, so he hits it several times with the axe head, killing it. He became emotional and even shed tears as this was his first time taking a life. He then took the entire fish and threw it inside the lifeboat, marking the tiger's first meal since the accident. Days passed, and one day the ocean waters glowed so beautifully that one could see the fish swimming deep in the water. Before he can react, a massive whale leapt several meters into the sky, and upon its return to the water, Pi and his raft swiftly found themselves submerged, as he had stupidly brought all his food on board, and just like that all his food went to the bottom. Pi had now survived for 38 days alone in the ocean, but one day something unusual happened. A fish jumped from nowhere and hit him in the face, and before long, several hundred fish came flying towards them. Some flew past, but others hit him and fell inside the boat. A big fish jumps from the water and lands in the boat. There was no way a hungry Pi could let the tiger have it, so he takes a stick and the two start fighting for it. He stuck it inside the tiger's mouth until it retreated. He quickly takes the fish away from the tiger and begins eating it on the floor to satisfy his hunger. Pi had enough and could not continue to risk his life every time he set foot inside the boat, so it was time to tame the beast, and if they were to live together, they needed to establish some rules and personal territories. He used a whistle, some pieces of meat and the stick. He approaches the tiger and points to a place, throws some meat there, and the tiger eats it. He repeats this several times, and the tiger slowly but surely learns and starts to obey his commands. After 88 days, Pi had converted the raft into a very comfortable living space, as he even fitted a shade. One day, beyond some swimming dolphins, Pi sees a cargo ship and quickly takes his flare gun and shoots it up in the air, trying to alert them. But hours passed and the ship kept going further and further. When night came, it had fully disappeared beyond the Earth's curvature, left standing hopelessly in the dark. Pi tries to keep himself busy by documenting his life in a book. But not long later, the book got filled up and the pencil got finished. As Pi is resting on the boat, he sees a big storm approaching. He hurriedly started packing his things, but it caught up before he finished. He quickly tied a rope around his waist to avoid drowning. Fear gripped the tiger, but when the storm eventually passed, Pi was left with nothing. The raft, his fishing net, his book, and even hope were gone. They both floated in the ocean from day to night with no sign of help, and for the first time, Pi drank the sea water before slowly walking towards the tiger and pouring the ocean water into its mouth to try and quench its thirst. His hair had grown long and his skin had turned black due to sunburn. Pi extended his hand and petted the tiger's head. He sat next to it, lifted its head and placed it on his lap. He looked into the sky as tears dripped down his face, and he officially let go, now ready to die and reunite with his family in the next life. The tiger had also grown so weak that it could hardly move. When Pi opened his eyes, he was resting under some shade, and the boat was resting on the shore. Pi jumps from the boat and instantly starts eating roots and weeds on the ground. He then goes inward to see if there is any assistance. As he ventures deeper, he discovers thousands of meerkats blanketing the island, leading him to the center and a freshwater pool. Pi jumps inside and begins swimming and drinking the freshwater. It's the tiger's paradise as there is food everywhere. As dusk approached, a peculiar event transpired. All the meerkats fled from the fields and withdrew into the forest, while the pools of water once brimming with pure fresh water, abruptly transformed into a surface teeming with lifeless fish. Pi plucked a fruit that was hanging above him, and upon opening it, he discovered a human tooth inside and instantly realized that the island was carnivorous. Some kind of chemical process happened that turned the waters and the pools into acid. Consequently, the meerkats took refuge in the trees, while the tiger retreated into the lifeboat. The island gave out during the day and the night took them away. Pi didn't want to end up lost and forgotten, so he made up his mind. He spent the next day preparing. He filled his storage with fresh water and seaweed. He stuffed as many meerkats as he could for the tiger, and when he called out for his fierce companion, the tiger came running and they set sail back into the open ocean. By the time they arrived at the Mexican shores, all his strength was gone. He was so weak that he was afraid of letting go of the boat, as he thought that the few feet of water would drown him. He fell on the warm and soft sand and couldn't move anymore. The tiger jumped from the boat onto the shore. It was so thin and weak that it struggled to walk. It stretched, then started walking along the shores, but stopped at the edge of the jungle. Pi lifted his head, thinking that it would at least look back one last time and bring their relationship to an end. But the tiger just kept going and disappeared into the jungle. Pi was later found by some local men and wept like a kid because the tiger had left him so unceremoniously. After all they had been through it together, it broke his heart, and he realized that his father was right, that the tiger never saw him as a friend, and when he looked into its eyes, it was his own reflection staring back at him and nothing else, which brings the movie to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.